Welcome to the Care to Share podcast, brought to you by Oakland Care, a luxury care home provider in the southeast of England. I'm Rachel. Each episode I will be joined by guests to talk about what you need to know when moving a loved one into a care home. We will give you practical advice and also show you what life is like inside our care homes to show you the truly positive side of elderly care. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Care to Share podcast. Today we're talking to Theresa Doody, Lifestyles Manager at our Birchwood Heights Care Home. Theresa has been on the podcast previously, but we've asked Theresa to come back as she's starting a new initiative at Birchwood Heights called Singing for the Brain. Hi Theresa, and welcome back to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me back.
No, thanks for joining us. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do at Birchwood Heights?
Yeah, so I've been at Birchwood Heights now for nearly 2 years, so I'm the Lifestyles Manager here. I live locally. I've always lived in Swanley, so it's a really nice short walk to work, or a short car journey to work. So I run a small team here at Birchwood Heights, the Lifestyles team, and it's our job really just to make sure the residents are having a really enjoyable day, and we try really hard to make that happen in various ways, really.
Yeah, great, thank you. So can you tell us a bit more about the types of residents that you have at Birchwood Heights and what activities they enjoy and what you put on for them?
Yeah, so we've got the residential floor and the ground floor. So that's for our residents that are more abled. We've then got the first floor, which is our memory care floor. But we find often we do activities that combine the two floors. We've now got a second floor that's recently opened, and we're starting to get residents join us on the second floor as well. So we try to do as many activities where everyone takes part, and we use the whole building for that, really, because I think it's really important that we do that. It's nice for the residents to use all of the rooms in the building, because it's a stunning building. So I'm quite keen to use the whole building, really. So we do merge the activities with everybody from all the 3 floors.
Yeah, and what kind of activities do you do? What ones do the residents enjoy the most? I know you do a lot.
Where do we start? Yeah, it doesn't feel like we do a lot, but we get told all the time that we do a lot of activity here. So I'm actually not from a care background, so I've got nothing to compare it with. So we start our day. A typical day would be a 10 o'clock coffee club. We then often do a 10:30 exercise session, which we keep quite short, normally about half an hour. Sometimes it's chair Zumba in the cinema room, or chair yoga, or chair stretchercise. We then do something that's a bit more mentally challenging. So if we've done some physical exercise, we then maybe do some word games or something that's cognitive, really. Then obviously we break for lunch. First activity in the afternoon is normally about 2 o'clock. And again, that can be 2 activities. We may do an hour arts and crafts, and then maybe do something game related. We always have social time from 3 till 5 in the bistro. So that's our recreational time when we're all together. And during that time, we also use the cinema room daily. So we get told that's a really full day. It doesn't feel full. It feels really good, and it's definitely achievable with a good team. I'm very lucky that I've got a really good team, and we work really hard.
Yeah. How do the residents, so would a typical, I know there's not a typical resident, but would a resident get involved in everything, or do they just pick and choose throughout the day?
We've got some residents that literally will, they like a hard copy of the planner, and they will walk around with that, with it circled.
I love that.
And it's almost, they will come to every single thing we do. They are there. We even have residents that will get to the activity half an hour early to get a seat there with their friends.
Yeah.
And we've got some residents that are a bit more private, and they choose to stay in their rooms, which is absolutely fine. And there may be just 1 or 2 things they particularly like a week that they'll come along to. So every resident is very, very different, and we try to get to know the residents really, really well. We've also had residents that join us, and we're told by relatives, they're very private people, they probably won't take part in very much. And we find that quickly changes here, which is quite nice. So we find, because it's quite a friendly environment, residents are trying new things. And I think that sometimes shocks relatives, that there can sometimes be a change in a resident's personality. They suddenly get this lease of, well, let's give things a try, which is really, really nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. And how do you encourage residents to take part in the events if they're not so keen?
Again, it depends on the resident. So some residents, they do need that gentle encouragement, and we'll speak to the families, and the families, they want us to be not persuasive, but just gently encourage. and other residents' families are quite happy if, as I say, residents are in their room and are not coming out for every single activity.
Yeah.
We just find one thing that I've always done here, which I really like, and that's I always start the day with a team meeting. So I do 9 at 9, just 9 minutes at 9 o'clock with my team, and they will then go to the floors and they will just say hello to the residents, gauge what kind of mood the residents are in, because if we've got a big event planned and we've got residents that are not feeling themselves, we need to know about that really. So I'm really keen that we start the day with communication with the residents, gentle encouragement, just a tap on the door, good morning, this is what we're doing today, would you like to join us? And I think we then become quite familiar to all of the residents, whether they're taking part in activities or not. Some residents love us just to go in, have a quick cup of coffee, and that to them is their activity. That's their socialising. So that's really important. So the first hour of the day, we touch base with the residents and we try and gently encourage participation in the group activities if possible.
So you did 100 excursions in 2023?
Yeah, we did 100. So that was my target. In my mind, I wanted to hit 100 excursions, and that doesn't necessarily mean great big trips out. Lots of those are just very small scenic drives, just short drives, or just a quick drive to the local tea room or to the local beef. It doesn't have to be massive day trips. And I think, to be honest, when I first started, I think I was a little bit naive with that, because I thought that residents would want to go out for great big excursions. And I quickly learned that for lots of our residents, particularly residents that have had falls, going out on a minibus is quite a big thing for them. So I tried to really encourage residents to go out on the bus just for a quick drive, because I could see the mental health benefits just going out on a rainy day, here in the rain, or just even on a sunny day. Residents just looked in much better spirits when they came back from the bus. And also it meant that if we were just doing scenic drives, we could get more residents off site in one day. And we quickly found that was becoming quite popular. So sometimes we would just do 3 scenic drives, and residents would come back into the bistro and they would talk about the Kent countryside and the local amenities and where they'd lived and where they visited before. And we found it was actually quite nice. And from a budget point of view, you're not spending huge amounts of monies on big excursions. You've also, we try to be quite green in everything we do, so we're not using huge amounts of fuel and petrol, etc. So it kind of ticked a lot of boxes. And I quickly found that because the scenic drives were so popular, residents would talk amongst themselves, and it would almost encourage other residents to go out and just take part in a drive. We used music a lot. There's a couple of residents that naturally love to sing. So when they're anxious, particularly on the memory care floor, they would sing. And I thought, I'm going to work with this, and I'm going to use the singing to get them down in the lift, in the bistro, and out on the bus. And literally we did. We would sing our way to the lift. We would sing our way down in the lift. We would sing in the bistro, and I could feel the anxiety rising, and they would look to me and just gently take my hand, and we would sing on the bus.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you have sing-alongs on the bus?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
There was a lot of reminiscence with that. Some of the residents would get off the bus and say, "Oh, I remember doing that with my children in the car," and
Yeah.
it was really, really nice. So we used singing quite a lot for residents that were anxious to travel out on the minibus.
Yeah, no, that's really good to hear. And when we've spoken to other people on the podcast, just in and around the homes, it's often the little things that they miss, like that small trip out to, like you say, the local tea room or to Sainsbury's, just the everyday things that they used to do, rather than thinking everything has to be a big day out. Like you say, it's far more manageable just to do something like that and get them out the home. So no, is that how you first kind of had the idea then to do the singing for the brain?
Harry, the home manager, spoke to me about singing for the brain, because singing is something we've always done here quite a lot.
Yeah.
We love sing-alongs. And when Harry asked me to train to be, to do singing for the brain, I wasn't quite sure what it meant. And at first I thought, does that mean I need to be a fantastic singer? Because I'm certainly not. And when I started to do the training, I'm actually due to finish the second part of the training next month. But so it's the Alzheimer Society that are training us. It's myself and the unit manager on the memory care floor, Jackie, that are being trained. And it's just about giving you lots of confidence and encouragement just to sing, basically. You don't have to be a good singer. And to be honest, I think if you are a good singer, it can actually sometimes put people off. And what I mean by that is if we were to go to a karaoke bar, say, and somebody can really sing, the first thing you're going to do is sit at the back of the room, and you're probably not going to want to try and sing because you know you can't compete with how they're singing. So what I find with, and I do this quite a lot with activity in general, it doesn't matter if you're good at something as long as you're enjoying it. So I find because I'm not particularly good at singing, the person next to me may not be particularly good at singing, but they may still enjoy it. So we try not to take ourselves too seriously. And if a resident gets the words wrong, it doesn't matter. As long as we're having a nice time, you're not going to remember the next day or an hour later that you got the words wrong, but you will remember that nice feeling of singing together. And it's all about those nice feelings.
And also there's health benefits as well, I think, like to singing, because obviously you're using your lungs, you're using your diaphragm. So they don't even know, the benefits that singing's bringing to them just from a kind of a health kind of perspective. So yeah, that's helping them in that way as well. Another small way, but doing
Yeah, and
something.
also I think the training that we got from the Alzheimer Society was really useful because sometimes you're not sure whether to print lyrics off, and we're trying to be green, so we think, well, we don't really want to do that because that's using paper. If you put lyrics up on the screen, sometimes residents will be a bit because of because of vision problems, or they just generally don't like. Not all residents, but some residents don't particularly like things on screen. So when we had the training with the Alzheimer's Society, they gave us the confidence just to sing a cappella. Just close your eyes and just lose yourself in music. You don't have to have lyrics. You don't have to be looking at words. If you get the words wrong, it doesn't matter. So it's definitely given me the confidence to sing more a cappella. So just myself and a resident or a group of us. And what we often find is we naturally just go into a sing song. So we can be in the activity room doing an arts and crafts session, and a resident will start to sing. And before we know it, we've got 7, 8 residents all around the table just naturally singing, which is really, really nice.
Yeah. So can you tell us a bit about the training and the sessions, but also, as we've just touched on a little bit there, about the benefits of singing for the brain and who it's designed for and what the benefits are of training?
So I think at the moment we're just using the training as a music therapy really for the residents in our care. But I think the plan, once we're trained and we've gained a bit more confidence, is to open up sing-alongs, singing sessions to the general public, to the local community. There may be people that living in the area that are living with a loved one that has got dementia or Alzheimer's, and music is a really, really powerful way to socialise. And you'll often find that you may have residents, they struggle to have a coherent conversation together because of the stage of their dementia, but singing it's powerful and it unites people. And I've had residents look across the table, reach for each other's hand and sing, and it's a powerful way that they can connect without having that coherent conversation. So it can be quite emotional. I will confess, a few times it's made me feel really, really emotional to see it and to see the look of the enjoyment that they get. They're sharing that song, they're sharing the lyrics. It's really, really quite incredible
Yeah,
to watch sometimes.
I think that's the power of music, isn't it? And the power it does bring out that emotion. Do you find that some of the residents that can't remember certain things will remember the lyrics to songs, and does it bring back that kind of
Absolutely.
ability to,
Yeah.
yeah.
We can be around the table and converse. As I say, conversation is difficult. Just the question and answers of everyday, the way that we communicate generally is difficult for some of our residents. But if you start to play music, I've got residents that will remember every single word, and it's incredible. And they will hold hands with the resident next to them and smile at each other and sing together. And it's their way of socialising, and interacting with each other.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. I was at an event last week at Maplewood Court, your sister home, as it were, and it wasn't a singing event, but there was someone there that started singing, and it was, like you say, everyone in the room started singing, holding hands, and it does make you feel really emotional. And just to see the enjoyment that they get and how you can see it's like almost physically taking them back to a certain point in their life,
Yeah.
especially when it's songs from when they were younger. And
something we started to do quite recently, and that's because we realised how positive the singing for the brain scheme is. We started to do it a bit more later on in the afternoon. So we used to do sing-alongs at, say, 10:30 in the morning or maybe 2 o'clock. But what we noticed was that we all often talk about sundowning with residents, where it hits a certain time and a resident will show signs of real confusion and frustration. And that, for some of our residents, that can sometimes be around kind of 4 o'clock. So, as I said before, at Birchwood Heights, the bistro is a very sociable place from 3 till 5. So, what we often do is we'll have staff in the bistro, but we'll also have a couple of staff up on the memory floor. So, at 4 o'clock, we will actually just try and go into a music session just to calm residents before supper time. And I find that that really, really works. And sometimes you do need to use a bit of psychology. What will often happen is I will go into a quiet room and I will say something like, I think I'm going to sit and have a sing along actually. Feeling, fancy a little sing along. And I'll put some music on and I'll just sit on my own. And I'll say, oh, it's a shame, it'd be nice to have some company. And then I say, oh, dear, would you like some? Can I help you? Oh, yes, please. Would you like to come in and keep me company? And all of a sudden you've made them feel like they're almost helping you. So if they're in that agitation, if they're in a stage where they're feeling frustrated and angry and confused, sometimes they won't accept help because they're just not in the mood to do so. But if you try and spin things around so they feel like they're helping you. I mean, as human beings, naturally, we all like to help and nurture. We just do. So a resident can quickly come into a room and sit and have a sing along with you because they're thinking they're helping you, they're assisting you they're offering you companionship. And then you can, when you've got them with you, you can then play some nice music or just do some a cappella singing. And that can be really, really nice one-to-one time. And that's a really nice activity for residents that don't like the loudness of a bistro with lots of residents, and that it's a very intimate activity, which is really, really quite nice. As I say, not for all of our residents, but certainly for some residents. And we've got some residents that like nursery rhymes. So one particular resident, she will start a sing along, and I know the song that she's going to start to sing, and it will be "Sing a song a sixpence a pocket." Sometimes I go to bed at night with that song in my head because we may have sung it literally 20 times, but if she's enjoying it, then it's all good. And to get her to the dining room at 5 o'clock, I will often be singing along the corridor, because I find if we're singing, she will naturally just walk happily. If we're trying to encourage her to go to the dining room without the singing, it's not always as successful as we'd like. So just singing along the corridors can sometimes really help.
Yeah. Is that something the course has taught you, or is this something you've just picked up as you've gone along?
It's something that, I mean, the course definitely has given me confidence to do the a cappella singing, definitely. So I think it's something that we've just applied because naturally it feels right. Because we've done a lot more singing, we can see that it does naturally de-stress the residents. So at times when they are showing signs of feeling a bit stressed out, like I say 4:30, it's time for dinner, because feeling hungry in itself can actually stir feelings of sundowning as well. So if residents are feeling hungry or a little bit agitated, just a quick sing along the corridor to get them into the dining room can actually be quite useful. It also helps the staff, which sounds a really crazy thing to say, but we're all told to exercise. It makes you feel great for mental health, exercise and, maybe read. But there's not really many people saying sing. Just sing because it makes you feel great. So at home sometimes, I'm going to share this with you. It probably sounds really crazy, but I'm going to be honest. I will just have a really good sing and I'll go back to some ballads. And I say I'm not a great singer, but music's powerful stuff and it really does make you feel quite good. Very similar to the natural endorphins that you get from exercise. So when we're singing with the residents, we're not just singing for the residents, we're singing for the staff as well, because it just makes you feel good.
No, I've got something that will make you feel a bit better. I actually did karaoke at the weekend. I knew I was going to be doing it. This is really sad, but we've got a karaoke machine at home. Like, it's not ours,
Yeah,
it's the
right.
kids. And yeah, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna practice. Like, which song should I sing? I was being silly, just entertaining them, and I sang some songs, and they lost interest after like the first 2 minutes, and I just carried on singing. I was like, at the end of it, I went, that was really therapeutic. Like, I feel
Mm.
Yeah.
really good. I feel really elated. No one else enjoyed it, but I did. So I completely understand what you mean when you say that.
But it's something that people don't really talk about that. But at the end of the day, good sing in the shower.
Yeah.
Does it really matter if you can sing or not? Not
No,
really.
No.
But it makes you
No.
feel
yeah.
good. It makes you feel alive. And
It's also quite stress
it
relieving
is.
as well, I think.
Yeah.
Like, if you can just let out your tension or stress in that, vocalize it, like you say. It doesn't matter if you're good
No,
or not.
exactly.
Oh, that's really interesting, and it sounds like it's something really positive, and hopefully you can share that with the other homes, and they might get on board and do the training too. So you mentioned that you haven't worked in care before. So there's two questions really. I don't know if you've got any special resident stories you can share with us. They can be about singing or anything else. I don't know if you've got any particular
Yeah.
ones that stand out or anything that stands out from the last time we spoke. I know that was almost a year ago. And then we talk about dispelling the myths of working in a care home and what care homes are perceived to be and where you haven't worked in care before. So maybe, yeah, 2 questions there.
I think for me, a story that I think about straight away is we've had a resident that's lived with us for quite a while now, probably over a year, maybe longer. Time goes so quickly. And he would never come out of his room to go on the minibus, and his relatives were quite keen for him to come out. And every day we would tap the door and we'd say, would you like to join us on the minibus? This is what's going on today in terms of activities. Would you like to take part? And it was always no, no, no. We persevered. Sometimes I think my team felt a bit, oh, why are we being asked to go to the room? We know he's going to say no. And we kept just gently going to the door. And then one day he said to me, one of these days I'm going to surprise you and I'm going to come out on that bus. And then one day we tapped the door and we said, we've got indoor bowls booked. We know that you used to play indoor bowls. Would you like to come? And it was, go on then, why not? And when I say I could almost have cartwheeled up the corridor. Literally, I was so happy. So I went to the storeroom to grab a wheelchair, and I thought, wow, the whole team were just high-fiving each other. It was just like massive achievement. And we told the family that, after a year of us tapping the door, finally he came out on the bus. And now he comes out at least once a fortnight. He's been out on lots of different excursion drives. He's been to the local DIY store, and that is a very small thing, but it really makes me feel really proud of what we do, because it's very easy in a care home to just when we've got, I think it's 57 residents now. It's very easy to sometimes just take the residents out on the bus that we know want to go out. But I'm really keen for all of our residents to try and to go out, and I felt so, so happy that he came out, and his family were really chuffed, and seeing his family's reaction was amazing. Another story as well, we've got a lady that she's quite nervous and she suffers with Parkinson's, and she needs a wheelchair to go off site, and she doesn't really like to socialise too much, the odd coffee in the bistro if it's quiet. And one day she was in a really, really lovely mood. And I said, why don't we go out and just have a really, really quick cup of tea in the local tea room? We'll be back within half an hour. And she said, I'll do that, but only if you hold my hand. I said, that's fine. So I held her hand literally on the bus there. I held her hand in the tea room. And when we came back, her daughter was just so, so happy that she'd gone off site. And that was really, really another... It's just a simple cup of tea off site, but it meant so much to the resident and also to the relative.
I think also it kind of shows like the personal care that we provide to residents. I mean, you're talking about stories of individual people. You're getting to know those individual people, and then you're tailoring the care to them. And, that's what we talk about.
Talking about dispelling the myths of working in care homes, was there anything that surprised you when you came into Birchwood Heights, or anything about working in the care home that you thought would be different to what it actually is?
So as I said before, I'm not from a care background. I did fostering for a short time, and it wasn't for the family. Unfortunately, I loved it. My family didn't, so we had to stop. And my only experience of being in a care home was when my nan, was my great nan actually, 25 years ago, and the care home that we used to visit was a very, very different place to what we have at Birchwood Heights. And we would regularly come home as family members and just feel really sad that my nan was in a big brown room with people that just looked really, really depressed. Staff looked tired and overworked. They were impatient, and we lived with a lot of guilt. And when I joined Birchwood Heights, I didn't have any experience of being a carer, but I had an awful lot of experience of being the relative. And I didn't want any relatives to leave care home feeling how we used to feel as a family. We used to take it in turns every couple of days to go and visit my nan. And I feel that not only are we looking after the resident, but we are really looking after the relatives, because when they leave, if they're worried about their loved one, they're going to go away and have a really, really rubbish day. And I don't want that for our relatives. We've got some lovely families here. So we're not just looking after the resident, we're looking after the families. And when we say we are one big family, we really mean it. We are looking after residents that feel like our grandparents. And as I say, I know exactly where these relatives are because I see the look in the face. It's the same expressions that my dad used to give when we was with. So I know, I feel it, I feel their concerns, and it is so nice when you get the hug from a relative to say, "I'm not worried. I know that she's loved here, and I know she's cared for." It just makes us feel really proud of what we do. So I always wanted to work in the care sector because I wanted to work in a nurturing environment. I think I explained last time on the podcast, COVID struck, and I wanted to change my life. I wasn't fulfilled in life. I didn't feel like I was doing anything rewarding. And this 100%, it's the most rewarding job you can do. And it doesn't need to be, great big events and spectacular activities. It's just the small things. It's just seeing the residents smiling every day, and relatives being able to go away on holiday and know that they can enjoy their family time, and their loved one is in an environment where they're going to be safe and loved and cared for. And it's so important. I feel so privileged to be here, really. I really, really do. And that probably sounds really cheesy, but
No, it's
I love
lovely.
it. I
Yeah.
love it here.
Yeah,
I
no,
really do
that's
love
so
it.
nice. Yeah, no, that's really lovely to hear. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and telling us a bit more about what progression you've made at Birchwood Heights with the activities and the singing. It's really great to hear, and thank you for sharing the lovely stories.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Care to Share podcast. We hope you found the information in this episode useful. You can find out more about Oakland Care at www.oaklandcare.com. You can also follow the Care to Share podcast on Instagram at care2share_podcast. Please also remember to rate and review the podcast.